Welcome to a very special and tragic episode of the Cosmere Connections podcast. So, as you know, we've been doing our reread of Wind and Truth, going through 2 days at a time until we eventually complete the book, and not reading past those 2 days. So, what you're about to hear is our actual timely reactions to the things that we've just read. Unfortunately, however, during the process of recording this episode, my software was not set up correctly, and we ended up losing most of the episode. It was a really, really good episode, and we were all having a blast coming up with stuff and just freaking out over what we read. Unfortunately, it is gone to the void forever, and it cannot be salvaged. However, what we do have are the extensive, detailed reactionary notes that ReaderWarrior took during his time reading the book. And so I'm going to be going through some of those right now just to kind of relive what it was we talked about as best we can. By the way, if you can't tell by my voice, this is Swiggity Swoo. So the first thing that we were trying to discuss is why L's symbol was the Knight's Radiant. I think Reader had seen that and thought like, oh, is this, telling that he was like involved with them somehow, and eventually we came to the conclusion that anybody who doesn't have their own special symbol just gets like the Knight's Radiant symbol as like a catch-all. We had a really lengthy discussion about how much of Jezreen was left in that gemstone, and like what would have happened if you tried to put anti-light in the knife before you stabbed him, which we kind of landed on, there wasn't much of him left, but whatever scraps there were have now been completely destroyed. And we were also freaking out about the fact that he called Jezreen an old friend. I specifically remember asking if L was a herald at some point. We were excited by the fact that Terror of Odium can just tap a gemstone and fill it with void light. There was a lot of confusion about Dag and Arthas, but we cleared up that it's just another unmade. It was a question of why she was so dangerous, and the answer being that she wants to destroy Roshar. Also, it was like kind of a revelation / something we probably should have known, that Odium wants to take out the entire Cosmere and not just Roshar, which I guess makes sense, right? That's why Odium wanted to leave Roshar. He wants to destroy the other shards and become the only one. We were curious what happened to Valor, and I remember theorizing that there's a shard of love, just kind of out of the blue because it seems like such a powerful emotion to not be represented. We were really excited by Maya's coming along. Like, she can speak in the physical realm, she can kind of extend a little bit as Adolin's fighting, which is really cool. He can summon her like almost instantly, and as well his armor seems to be gaining some sort of sentience, or at least attachment to him. Reader noted that capes are always a win. The following epigraph caused a very lengthy discussion, and I will read it here. Obviously, the passing of the Dawn Shard was the first indication that this event was near. However, we find many other signs. And that sentence led to so much debate. Okay, like what Dawn Shard passed to who? There's always been like confusion about, did Sigil get the Dawn Shard from Hoyd? Is the Dawn Shard they're talking about here the one that was passed? And is it Change? That's Risen's Dawn Shard. Is it Control? Because later on they're talking about like the Well of Control. I can't really say where we landed, but it was fun to debate back and forth. The whole conversation with Nightblood, where he's just name-dropping people from Warbreaker, was great. We were all laughing at the fact that Kaladin does know Azure, and Nightblood is saying like, oh, if you ever met her, she and you are both really grumpy, so I think you'd get along. We think it's cool that Nightblood doesn't really want to kill, but he was made to destroy evil. Reader was asking like, is there a difference between evil and evildoers? There was a big like record scratch moment when the wind was like, I'm afraid of the end of all Spren. And, nobody basically knows what that means right now. We were wondering about, like, well, oath gates can transport you across Roshar, but they can also transport you into Shadesmar. Could you teleport in Shadesmar to Shadesmar, or does it have to be going from Shadesmar to the physical realm, and then from there you can go to somewhere else in the physical realm? We laughed a lot about the line, Adolin, were you a slut? And along that lines, we were talking about, like, a reader said, would an archer's glove that shows fingers be scandalous, like lingerie? And we decided that, yeah, it basically is. We're all excited to see what's going to be done with that big chain in the box. The whole thing with Zeth and Molly was really heartbreaking. I know that really bothered me, especially. Also, Sanderson needs to stop making characters whose names are one letter off, like, for example, Maya and now May. We were confused about the Herald's blades rejecting them and what that means and how that all works. It also seems pretty obvious to us that the voice Zeth is hearing is the voice of an unmade, especially because on page 374 he says the voice is the voice of an unmade. The battle between Rit daughter Clutio and Zeth was truly epic and had us all, screaming with joy, especially like that fact that it's Talon's blade, the one that was missing, the one that was stolen, and he's the herald that held out for so long. Like, it was just really cool, and we love to see it. Reader had talked about how these monastery battles are basically going to be like video game boss battles. Reader was questioning if the other honor bearers might be Zeth's family. The Baxel interlude was really weird. We had to look up who he was. It's always good to see Axes the Collector. It was a revelation to us that a Spren could take the Shard of Odium, and that Ba Edo Mistram is even preferred by the power. Also, what Dova's talking about with spikes is sounding a lot like Steel Inquisitor stuff. And wait, she's a herald? It was cool that we got to see Raboniel in the past, and it was really cool to learn that Ahu was the king all along. Vienta is really cool, but the cooler she is, the more it's just going to break our hearts when something bad happens to her. The Stormfather talking about dogs was great, because not only does he love dogs, Tanavast, but also the fact that they didn't make it and they had to be bred into like the crab dogs we have now, the Axhounds, is just really cool to think about. The Zeth parts of this book continue to be completely amazing when he falls into Shadesmar and has to fight an Else Caller and an Edge Dancer at the same time. Leading to what has become my favorite part of the book so far, where he whips out Nightblood in Shadesmar and it's radiant and glowing like the sun, which is awesome because that's how Nightblood sees himself. Zeth's Spren offers him a spoon of all things, which is hilarious. It's also super cool that Nightblood has been talking with the Honor Blades. So there was a ton of stuff that I didn't really remember or that wasn't specifically noted. Unfortunately, it's just going to be kind of lost to the void. It was a good talk, but we were able to salvage some, and that is going to play for you now. So again, really sorry about that. We hope you enjoy the rest of the episode and get ready for the next set of days coming soon.
I'm just Swiggity. What do you think? Should we just continue?
Yeah, I guess if John's recording it,
Yeah, I got it going.
should be fine.
Okay.
Okay. So, I don't know. Reader is just acting up, so I think it's.
Yeah, so we're gonna just have to continue. Okay, so interlude, Teravangian. So we have the bit about Fido Mishram being able to potentially take the shard, which then brings up the question: is there a limit to what can take a shard? Like Spren can, like any sort of cognitive shadow can then take because of Kelsier, right?
I think you need to have cognitive capabilities. Like, it can't be a dumb spread.
Well, what's the what level? What level of cognition, and why is there a line that's drawn?
Because they need to have intent.
Okay, so it has to be something that can create intent, and if that thing can create intent, but here's the thing: items can view themselves in Shadesmar and can have intent, right? I'm pretty sure that stick had the strongest intent compared to Shallan.
I don't think the stick had intent. It just
if stick can become odium, then you know.
Hey, we've known stick can do anything.
Talk about crackpot theories.
I mean, everything has intent, right? Everything. And we see the biggest thing where we see this is actually inside of the Emperor's soul. Everything has a desire, a want, right? What would you rather be if you were a window? Would you rather be a stained glass window, or would you rather be an old broken window? Would you rather be the wall? Do you think the wall would rather be a wall that's full of a painting or not? Right. So we learn from that like everything has this, in a sense, intent and a desire. So what level of strength and desire? And then, you know, so that's why it's like, do they have to be a sapient spread? Does it have to have a certain amount of intent of like shardic power? Anyway, just a thought. We don't have to go down any further on this line, but I just wanted to kind of put that out there.
I do have an easy kind of like potential answer. So it has to have intent that can be outwardly applied.
Okay.
Because in your examples, all of your things were all, would it rather be this or would it rather be that? It's a preference about itself.
It's inward versus outward.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. So then the next question is,
No next question. We're gonna continue.
But lifeless.
My internet. I have lost the capability to glare at the screen. We're going to continue before my internet loses anything else.
Fine, we'll move on to crystal spikes.
Yes, so we meet Dova, who is Bata the Herald, and we also learn that there was about 3,000 years between Hoyd being born and the Oath Pact being formed.
Yes.
And
also, the Hoyd is like 10,000 years old, apparently.
Well,
yes, so the from the first desolation to now is about 7,000 years.
From the shattering, so from the shattering, it's 10,000 years.
Yes, but from when the heralds first started getting formed, it's 7,000. Yes, and then we learn that she is, testing ways of stabbing somebody in the eye to see investiture.
Well, she says to see in some fashion, and the spikes. So yes, we can assume that she's testing how to stab people in the eyes, but it does bring up a question: is if she's using crystals as spikes, does it have to be in their eyes for them to see the investiture, like it is on Gadriel? Or is it not?
I think she's doing a weak form of hemalurgy. I think if she moves to metal, she'll uncover something truly horrifying.
Because Sanderson has stated that hemalurgy does not, like the shard ruin does not have to be present for someone to discover hemalurgy and utilize hemalurgy.
But how does she discover that? Because though he doesn't have to be present, people haven't found other way. Basically, it's shown that, and I guess other shards where we see other shards are starting to do stuff with hemalurgy. Even though I swear Ruin was hemalurgy basically, but you see other shards seem to have knowledge of hemalurgy. So, did she really just discover it after 7,000 years? Was 1,000 years not enough? Because the Lord Ruler had people working day in, day out on hemalurgy.
Yes,
right?
But in his case,
Ruin
Ruin was continually screwing with him to prevent him from finding more.
No, it never says that. It never says that. Because anything that he can make was just going to be Ruin's pawn. So Ruin would want him to make more.
Okay.
So
I think she's a step away from hemalurgy. and that if she moves on from crystals to metal, we're gonna have Inquisitors on Roshar soon.
Or is it because crystals to them are their way of trapping and moving investiture, and metals on Scadrial are the investiture? That crystals
Quite possibly.
The other version of metal, and that's why she's doing crystal instead of metal.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think they've done it their own way, but if they move to metal, it'll be what it actually is. And they need to figure out the sacrificial part. Ooh, has she figured out the sacrificial part? Uh-oh.
All I know is that I'm very unsatisfied with how much they give us about crystal hemalurgy in this one tiny chapter.
Yeah, how dare they,
I'm
hint at it for like
infuriated.
one line and not give anything else.
You'll have to wait
I am
for the
infuriated that we only have one sentence.
you'll have to wait for the role playing game book to come out next summer with the world guides.
Okay. So that's the end of the third interlude.
Yep.
So day 4. So Dalinar wakes up on his wedding night. Yeah, so that's great.
The spiritual realm weird
Be doing weird stuff.
is weird.
Were you expecting any less?
No.
It speaks, the spiritual realm or something else seems to speak to Dalinar. It's like, it will destroy you. It will destroy us. Please don't go searching for honor.
Pretty sure that's the storm.
I'm pretty sure that I think that's just the words are just like from the Stormfather, because he's just keeps trying to stop Dalinar. And since we're kind of going into the full day, like we see him talk, like we see Dalinar, like, is it okay if we just kind of blend some of this chapter a little fast?
Yeah.
Well, it says it will destroy you. It will destroy you. Had he really heard that, was that ... honor's power? Please, he repeated, mouthing the word. It will destroy us. Please.
Right. It'll destroy us. But we know that Stormfather is like super scared of this. So what if he's scared that if he finds Honor's power, that he'll destroy, that he'll
But Dalinar would have recognized the Stormfather's voice. This is some small fragment of honor itself.
Oh, maybe.
Which I know literally the Stormfather is one small fragment of honor itself. But I'm saying this is direct honor.
It's not like Honor's nose versus Honor's big toe.
Yep. And then he wakes up, and it's the day that Roshar was invaded.
Yeah.
One of the singers is named Moash. There was a brief little moment where I had the same little thought as Dalinar.
Moash? What? I
That
think
guy.
Brandon brings back that name because they specifically say, "Oh, that's an old singer name," and then we actually
see
it's
that.
kind of like a little like confirmation. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, 7,000 years ago, it's a singer name." But one thing I didn't get to bring up in the first days, but in the past of Shinovar and in current Shinovar, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of evidence of lots of Spren. But when he crosses over this mountain, and the high storm hits, talks about rain spren forming everywhere, and then thousands of wind spren. So there's a shimmer in the air, and then thousands of wind spren. So it seems to be the shimmer. I would guess is the wind, right? The spren, the wind. Right, or whatever.
That's how I would interpret that.
Thousands of wind spren following after, and I just wanted to bring that up because Shinovar doesn't seem to ever have previously been mentioned as having a lot of spren. Right, when you have Rissyn goes there, she's like, "Where's all the spren?" Like when he's there, there ain't any spren nowhere, and why is that? And all of a sudden we have thousands. So I just wanted to bring that up. also, just because I'm gonna jump chapters, I'm just like staying on the Navani Dalinar's like strain of thought. Then so he pulls her in. For some reason, there's other connections. My guess is some of those other connections are
Well,
Gavinor, which we know were brought in, but
yeah.
also like he's probably connected a little bit to like to Shallan and to his son, right? Things like that. So like that's probably going to be the other lines of light.
Yeah.
But which was interesting. But when she gets brought in, she also says there's a singer that seems familiar to Navani. I think that's Raboniel.
Yes.
Because
that's what I was thinking as well.
Remembering the arrival of like she talks about like remembering like basically the start of all of the war and the arrival of the heralds and stuff. And that's the only person that she would recognize, like she knows intimately enough to be like, I know your skin pattern. You know? So
I was definitely thinking that as well, that it was Raboniel.
Okay, I'm glad you're all along. I was like, I can't think who else could it be. So
yeah,
but then it never says. It just that's like our only reference. So
yeah, Shallan is able to figure out how to get into. They're able to figure out how to get into the vision.
Well, this is the first real vision. So is she? Do they just figure it out, or is she just pulled in because they're pulled in?
R'lain and Renarin figure it out. How to?
Well,
their spren. Say essentially like there's a vision going on, and we're able to pull you guys in. Yeah.
Got it. And they have their own bodies at the point. And also, speaking of Shallan and the vision, she's sorry, my phone. I'm trying to have my notes and my thing, and my phone keeps falling. But then also, like Shallan then light weaves when she's like making her way without drawing a picture.
Yeah, which is so exciting.
Is that like now she's always going to be able to do that? But it's always previously her. They've talked about her. Basically like taking a photo of like whatever she calls it of someone is accessing
memory.
The spiritual realm.
Yeah.
So since it's like she's in the spiritual realm, she has direct access. So it's like she's seeing them with her eyes, and so instead of having to like close her eyes and do a little like screenshot, of reality, she's able to just like, this is in the spiritual realm. This is like I'm already having this connection. So. What do you guys think? Do you think that she is now like when she goes back into the physical realm, she will to just create stuff without drawing, or is this just because she's in the spiritual realm?
I think she's going to be fine from now on. I think this was a power upgrade, and then she's realized she can do this, and then won't need to go back to it.
And if we think about it, we have kind of seen her do this with Radiant. We saw her do it with Radiant earlier, where she didn't have to draw a picture of Radiant before creating the light weaving of Radiant.
She's in the cognitive realm, which also seems to lend to her being able to do this. Yeah. But also B, is it just like now Radiant's becoming so much part of her that she doesn't have to do it, right?
I think everybody's going to everybody who went to the spiritual realm is going to get some form of upgrade, some power enhancement or something. But I think Shallan's is going to be
Is this because they went to the spiritual realm, or is this because she swore her oath?
I think it's the spiritual realm.
I still wonder if she didn't inadvertently speak her fourth and fifth ideals at the same time.
Well, there's some debate about her that she had already spoken her fourth ideal with design. No, not
Testament.
Testament.
Thank you. And so now it's like, and also the Herald says like, because you're basically double bonded, you're like extra strong, kind of a thing. You've got like more access to the spiritual and cognitive realm And so now, is she now double force bonded, or is she now?
No, I don't
Like,
think
was
she would
she
have
able
gotten
to
that far with
overcome-
Testament.
Well, and there's I can point you to some stuff that where it could be potentially that she's gotten that far, but I don't know.
Okay,
I just
pulling
surprised that it was only the fourth ideal.
Pulling away from Team Murder for a second, we have
Shalon
Kaladin
is good at
and
murder.
murder. And so we have Kaladin and Seth, and they're kind of making their way, in which Kaladin has just been turned into the donkey and is being made to carry all of the honor blades that they will then be obtaining.
Honestly, but I really am enjoying Kaladin and Zeth's
Oh
interactions
my gosh,
so
I
far.
love it so much.
I
And
like
Zeth's
it.
like, more soup. And he's like, this is the best soup that I've ever. Like, he's like insulting him about the soup, but he's like, that was the most backhanded, wonderful compliment I've ever received. Like,
Yeah,
I would eat this again.
yeah. Which is really nice. I do like that.
Okay.
Also,
Reader, go ahead and continue. Your
oh yeah,
your
I was just gonna say, Seth has kind of realized where the end of his journey is, which is kind of the opposite of where Kaladin wanted him to go.
right. I
Which
do
he
like
says,
the fact
after
that-
I do all this, I will kill myself, and the purge will be complete.
So the question is, will he never actually get to the fourth ideal? Or will like his fourth ideal be like he stabs himself or something? Then he's like, oh,
Then
I'm
he's-
fourth ideal.
That would be
I don't know.
interesting. Although Seth's Spren is a fucking tool. I just gotta say it.
yeah.
I swear it's auxiliary, man.
I don't
Where
think
it's
it's
like-
Ox.
No,
No.
I don't think so either.
But since we're kind of blending all of them together, right? Speaking on the whole, like them, like this kind of a, yeah, like his friend being this weird,
like
tool of
rookie
a guy,
Spren.
freaking providing him a spoon inside of Shadesmar.
I love that
I'm
moment.
gonna say that he's just like,
Okay.
he's like, here you go, and the guy's like, I'm drowning in the bees. Oh.
Yes.
His Spren is new and
Mhm.
doesn't know a lot and is
And
pretending like he knows a lot.
Oh yeah, he's totally pretending like he knows a lot, and I love that last line. And he was like, "Next time, Spren, like we're moving on to the Lightweaver, Master of Lies." So he's like, "Just next time, don't let people know that basically you're lying through your teeth because you're bad at this."
it's very hard to regain trust once it's been lost.
Which I honestly, I would feel terrified as a Spren to have someone like Zeph be like, "You're lying to me, and you
Mhm.
broke my trust," and I would be like,
And he has
Not that
night
it's
blood.
like stab me with
trust.
night blood and like suck me up or something. I'd be like terrified.
I don't
Right?
think he broke trust. I think he's just like, I cannot look past the fact you now don't know anything. I see that now.
I
You are
would
not
piss
to be
my
able to
Starry
regain
Night pants,
control.
man.
It is known.
Also,
So
I want
then-
to say I just started the book Murtagh. It's like the fifth Aragon book, and in like the third chapter, Murtagh kills like 3 dudes with a spoon.
Well, there you go.
So-
And John Wick kills how many with a pen?
Zeth, you could have figured it out.
I do want to
Yeah,
switch
but
gears
You have to
to
then go and get Nightblood, who is a freaking shining beacon of light.
yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was so
It
hype.
was awesome. I
Okay.
do want to talk about Adolin as well, because I like Adolin in this section. I
It's
think
true,
it is
it's true.
so nice is becoming that he is actively trying to be friends with Gox, with Yanagon.
Oh yeah.
Because
Are
he knows that he needs a friend,
Right?
and he is trying to like help him and like be so nice, and he's so supportive, and I just really like Adolin a lot. He's
Oh,
just
Adolin's
wonderful.
he's such a friendly, as everyone says, golden retriever.
Mhm.
He's just like everyone's gotta love him. Which I do wonder. It just like makes me feel like I feel like they try to imply that Adolin's always been like this, but it's like you don't see this in the first books. I feel like he's become more like they show him that he like, oh yeah, he likes to joke and like laugh with his, with his armors and stuff. But it's like, so I don't know if it's like he's always been like this or he just becomes like you get more POV from him.
I think
But he definitely feels like he's becoming more like even more affectionate, even more like aware of like the people around him and wanting to like support and like uphold them and kind of stuff.
I think he became this more so after, like, he did not care about all the stuff that was going on the plains, but when it became like an actual war, when things were actually in line, and when he learned his dad was not who he thought he was, Adolin looked inside and had to make changes, and that's when he started to grow.
And he definitely had a lot of this aspect, but he's grown more in this aspect, I feel like, over the books. So.
Yeah. I also like that we finally have a reasoning for why Adolin didn't want to take the throne, as well as why he doesn't want to be a Radiant.
Which I love. I love that everybody else is getting superpowers, and I believe like there was in in Oathbringer, he's like, man, if only I could do that or something. He was jealous, but to have him be like, no, I don't want that. I want to be me.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Which is weird because he's having the whole Maya thing, and he might just automatically become an edge dancer in a bit.
He won't. He's gonna be like Sigil is in the Red Planet book. Brain go.
Sunlit Man?
Yeah, that one.
The Red Planet book. No, forever shall it be known.
You're good. I forget names all the
time.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool to get to actually like hear like why is it that he didn't want to become king. We know that him talking really helped push him to acknowledge the fact that he didn't want to be king and that it was okay that he didn't want to be king. But it was nice to like actually see the reasoning.
So I'm gonna show my ignorance in this, and I know I just listened to this earlier today, but my brain forgets what he said for why he didn't want to become king. I was maybe caught up in the other, fighting and stuff going on that I kind of missed. Like, I heard it, but my brain doesn't remember it at this moment. You could just
he said
that
we jumped further than I was expecting to.
Do you have it, Reader?
We're just kind of going where the flow in this day. Just catching the most important parts in the next 10 minutes.
It's between like 490. It's around 490 or so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so I found it. So, it's I don't like the oaths. Is that he doesn't like the oath. He said, my father made oaths, and so did all of the other high presidents before the Radiants were refounded, back when they were all burning down villages and slaughtering people. Their actions were considered honorable because they kept their storming oaths. Who cares about what suffering they caused, right? Everybody was honorable. That's what matters. Like, he's like, the oaths aren't what matters. What matters is whether or not you're living a good life and you're doing what you're supposed to do and helping people.
Thank you for reminding me about that. Mm-hmm. I think that's so critical. Sorry,
too many people Adolin said as his armors began to put on his plate, think the oath and not what it means. It is the important part. I heard something in one of my lessons once from an Ardent about a man who took an oath to sit in a chair until he was told he could stand, and he stayed it for 10 years. I wonder which Ardent.
Yeah, it's pure idiocy. A man who gave an oath and then realized it was storming stupid. You know what I'd admire? A man who gave an oath, then realized it was storming stupid and broke it. Apologized and moved on with his life, determined not to make that kind of mistake again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
here's the question.
like that because this is very much like, right?
If-
They've been their religion's been like so infected by the idea of honor and oaths that it's like, and it goes to show like just people don't like, honor is not necessarily this like, everyone kind of, from the viewpoint of Rasharn's, honor is this beautiful shard, it's the god of righteousness and power, and it's like, really, here is kind of where you can see someone admit like, hey, keeping your oath isn't the best thing, but because whenever we see from Dalinar's perspective, it seems like it's the right thing to keep your oath no matter what, even if it means, giving up your shard or letting someone like letting your army fail because it's better to keep your oath than not, or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas here we kind of see, no, keeping your word actually isn't the most important thing. Doing the right thing is the most important thing.
Okay.
And learning and growth, which is kind of more of a cultivation thing, learning and growth. So anyway,
And as Kay's about to leave, we're probably going to talk more, but here's the question I have. If Adolin were to take honor, with this mindset, what would honor be turned into?
well,
I don't think Adolin could take on.
the shards don't change intent after they've already been created. If Adolin was one of the ones who splintered,
We know that AT was able to warp Ruin into something less dangerous, so I've always thought it was more destruction, and then he calmed it down to Ruin.
No, so it's always so the shard. Brendan has talked about in Words of Brendan that the people that were there that took them, like the people that were there that shattered Adol Nalsium affected how the 16 attributes. So if there's 16 different people, we'd have 16 different attributes.
But we also have seen
are
that
staying the same, although the holder of the shard can exercise their will over the power and can rein it in, but which is what AT did. AT was a good-hearted person, but we see as Odium did, like, because Odium fought with race, they started damaging each other.
But we've
And
also
go ahead.
We've also seen that a person can change the intent, nudge it in a different direction. Right,
but it's still going to be the core of itself. I think you could potentially, like, if everyone started viewing honor as something more, or the shard, but maybe you can expand on a definition, but I don't think you could change the actual shard. Like,
not in a full way, but like Vin taking up preservation would have become, I think, protection. She wouldn't have been preservation.
No, she would have been preservation. The shard itself doesn't change. The way you define how someone preserves. But again, if you go too far against its intent, it starts.
Yeah, that won't work. But that nudge still would happen.
You can.
So
again,
what would Adolin nudge?
Change. But either way, I don't think we'll do this. You can nudge. You can expand a definition, but it won't change what its root is. Like the word the word won't change. You won't describe it with a new word. Preservation doesn't become protection. Honor doesn't become whatever.
Unity?
It would still be honor. It's just, can you redefine what honor means? Can you expand? So I think nudging and expanding of point of view is what would happen and can happen.
That's what I said.
So that's my thought. But yes, I don't know. Kay says that Adolin wouldn't be able to take up honor at all because he's not well enough aligned to just keep.
I think Adolin is well enough aligned to what honor should be, and not what it's been changed into. And I think he could change that into something different. What it should be. What would that should be?
But it's not what it is.
But I think he can.
It doesn't matter what it should be. It matters what it currently is.
Yes.
which is not aligned with Adolin and Adolin's view of honor.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you would like to call out, Kay? As I know you have to take your leave.
I liked that Adolin stuck up for his friend, and he said, "I'll be friends with him, even if you need to. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna corrupt Yanagon. I'm not gonna corrupt him.
We're just gonna play
He's gonna be
cards.
fine. We're just gonna play cards. Like, it's fine." Which I thought was nice. Also, this is a side note, but I really like how so far we have had epigraphs from Way of Kings. We have now had epigraphs from Words of Radiance. I'm guessing we are going to have epigraphs from Oathbringer and from Rhythm of War.
We've also had some from Knights of Wind and Truth.
Yes, but that was expected. That one was expected to have, but it's nice that we have epigraphs from the previous books.
Do you think we'll get any from the Book of Endless Pages?
Just a blank, but it's just a blank epigraph.
Yeah.
it's just quote, bunch of spaces, end quote, Book of Endless Pages.
Perfect.
This is the big Book of Endless Pages. This book is so huge. My mom has like this book bag that I've been seeing her put books in since I was a kid, and I put this one on top of it, and it was like, you couldn't fit this in here. You can't. Like, this is a home.
Yep. And my one last note while Kay is here is that the Sigzil chapter has a sword, not a sword, a spear and a pen as its emblem.
Checks out. Also, I like that there's the one Windrunner who always who uses her spread specifically as a pen and only as a pen. She never summons it as a shard blade. She only summons her spread as a pen. I love that.
Okay.
Man, Sigzil's plan though, just like a little too close to what Sadius was doing with the bridge crews. He's like, oh, we got to build in failure points. Like, that's... Yeah. Those are people's lives.
True.
It's true.
I mean, but Sadius was doing it for, like, corporate profit, and Sigzil's, like, trying to save the world. So it's way more justified.
I also don't think that Sigzil is doing it with the intent of getting people killed. He's doing it with the intent of putting the emphasis of the war in the wrong place, right?
And they'll know to defend those places. It's not like he's putting like a person out on a fishing line and throwing them out to the piranhas
with eyes of red and blue.
Yeah, no, he's just making points where he knows the enemy will attack, in which they'll know to better have.
And since he's
swords
doing with
at that place
rather than people, I wonder if he's going to save more lives in the end, because the idea is that if they eventually broke and died inside of defending two places, potentially with only two spots and nowhere to really retreat, that they could potentially get taken over. One spot could be taken over, and then they could just be cornered and all killed.
Oh no, I think Sigzil's plan is going to fail.
With the point of retreat piece is you would potentially be sacrificing less people. You're sacrificing more ground. You're sacrificing
see that.
I think Sigzil's plan is going to fail. It looks way too good. They're way too confident. And we know that he needs to have trauma happen to him. I think this plan is going to go horribly.
Damn you and your logic.
I agree. But it's going to...
I mean, at some point, it's got something will happen terrible, right? Because we've got to traumatize our poor little Siggy, But I am very curious. I do think a lot of people hate that they have read Sunlit Man beforehand, but I like knowing where he's going to be in hundreds of years and wanting to know what's going to happen in
the journey before the destination.
Yes, like the journey, right? What's the journey that he gets there? We know his destination. Now, what's the journey that gets him there, and how much? Because there is a lot that he talked about in Sunlit Man, and I'm like, can really all of those things happen inside of this one book? To me, it felt like it was like stuff that happened over like 6.
Yeah, that's because it will be 6 books. He's definitely going to be in the back 5.
Yeah.
Right. But that's the point. So it's like, how much is happening here? Is the trauma this one? He could succeed. And
he's going to lose his friend this book, 100%.
Not
necessarily. Could happen in the back 6.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know what's happening in 5 more books, man.
Okay.
Especially if they're this big.
It could also happen in the 10-year gap.
It's true. Yeah.
But where's the fun in reading that then?
It'll be the novella in between.
Yeah, it'll be the extra 3 Stormlight books that he writes in between.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna take a quick pause here as Kay leaves, and I'm gonna try to make my Discord work.
Okay.
So, bye, Kay.
Bye, Kay.
Good night, y'all.
We'll see.
See you in 2 weeks. Merry Christmas.
Yes, have a good Christmas, y'all.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Okay. Give me a second. I'm gonna try closing out my iPad and go back to the laptop.
Okay.
Guys, I think we lost it. I think we lost the first 2 hours.
Oh no.
I'm like really in a bad mood. This, like, I was looking on Reddit and people were saying they had the same issue, and they were saying, well, that's why you want to record in MKV instead of MP4. It's like, I just switched it to MP4 so that I wouldn't have to convert it later.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm bumming pretty hard. Because I'm feeling like not only is it just 2 hours of tonight, but it's also like the past 2 years, like, it almost has been building up to this, like, just, oh my god.
It'll be okay. We'll have more to talk about next time.
It's only and we'll just have to apologize to our listeners and just say, hey, we lost day 3. Like, and if you want, we can do like a quick, just like, not blow by blow, but just like, hey, like, story arcs. What are some interesting pieces of story arcs day 3? Do you want to do something like that? Like, not spend a whole ton of time, just be like, hey, in day 3.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, Reader?
Okay. I don't think I can regain visual, but this is probably better.
I guess if everybody shared their notes, I could try to record something, try to remember like the best moments of it and recap it.
Or are we stopping here?
No, he's just saying that he's 99% sure that we lost all of day 3 in the recording.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we lost like the first 2 hours.
Which I mean, I came in like right at that transition, so it's like we lost all of day 3, and now we're just discussing like, do we want to just do like a quick like, hey guys, we lost day 3, like audio. Here's just like a 5-minute, 10-minute highlight of day 3 before we wrap up day 4.
I will leave that to Swiggity because Swiggity does pretty well in doing just those sort of notes at the beginning, and most likely you'll be able to just remember more specifically. Like, I think we talked about Coit a lot, so I'm not going to remember, but like
yeah, I was thinking like if anybody could just send me their notes, and like I guess if you had any predictions or theories that
the other option is like
to get on there,
we could just do a quick like a brief rehash. Not tonight, like another time.
Yeah.
With those who are available,
Yeah, we can try to squeeze it in on our next recording.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be the same,
it won't.
I'm bumming about it, but
it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. It's not the first time. It won't be the last time.
We won't be able to get it in for the next recording, either way.
No, I'm saying, like, those of us who can make it, because, like, I'm off next week in its entirety. Like, I could pop in and do, like, maybe we limit it to, like, a half hour, like, okay, we had some technical difficulties, so we're going to rehash real quick what our thoughts were.
Yeah,
right.
We can do that.
And it's technically only chapters, it's the interludes, and then chapters 34 through 38.
We spent 20 minutes on that first interlude.
Yeah, that was unnecessary anyway.
Yeah. Okay, we can try to do that, but Sweetie, let us know if you did lose it. I imagine you're going to spend a bit trying to see if you can recover or find it.
Right.
But at any point, like, again, I'm not against recording this upcoming Thursday. I know why people aren't. But, like, I'm free that day if people are, or at any point, really. So just let me know.
Yeah. I'll let you know. Like, I think I'm just gonna leave my laptop on and all night and see if it eventually stops and actually does save it. So who knows? But I've right now and what I've seen online, it's not really looking good.
I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Do we
No
want to
worries.
start up anything on the rest of day 4, or do you want to just call it?
Now, let's try to finish up a few more things.
Yeah. Since we have bounced around, there's a couple, I feel like there's a few ideas that didn't. I like tried to go for like, let's do a whole like story arc, like all of Dalinar and Navani, and then we kept like getting pivoted. So it gets for like Dalinar and Navani's like chapters in day 4.
Well, let's do 3, 2, and we're back. I would say spoilers, but we've been on that. So we're gonna go back to, you know, the spiritual realm, and we now see the people arriving on Roshar, and Hoyt is there. That's great.
Well,
I
Hoyt-ish.
love that he's like self-aware too.
Yeah, it's
so
I'm
horrifying.
not real, but I am real. So, but my emotions feel real, even though they're not real. So I'm gonna just sit here in a puddle of just existential crisis.
face melt.
I wonder, is it the fact that Hoyd is that strong currently, or will be even stronger, or is that just how strong Hoyd was back then, that this memory still could not hold on to that much power?
I mean, it's 3,000 years. So
But
I think it would
spiritual realm weirdness, so it could be the fact that Hoyd is just super invested in like a singularity.
The only other thing that knows it's in a vision is the wind.
Right.
Yeah, what you're kind of seeing is the code, you know, like it's the Matrix is sort of showing itself a little bit.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure one of the women, because Dalinar recognizes one of the singers. I think that's Raboniel, maybe.
Yeah, it's Navani. Navani recognized one of the singers. So
that's why I think it's Raboniel.
Also, earlier in the void, which is what I'm going to refer to as the line. When we were in the void, we had come up to the realization that I didn't get this. When he's mentioning, like, oh, is this why the Iriali, is this how the Iriali feel? Like, that is like their religion, how they all feel like they're part of the one. And him like realizing, oh, I'm just like a bit of investiture, aren't I?
You're just a chunk of fruit in the giant Jello bowl of life.
Then we have Adolin sort of preparing for a thing in which, how far away does Maya's radio connection work?
We don't know.
We don't know. Okay. I vote just raise the city. Why don't they just destroy the city?
That's
is that a breach of the contract?
There's a bunch of people still living there. That's why they're not going to just destroy the city.
Okay.
Everyone's in apartment buildings.
Okay, but like a controlled raising of the city. Or why don't they just have the kingdom surrender to like New Alethi? Therefore, the capital is now New Alethi. It's putting all of your eggs in one basket, but you only have to defend one place.
Yeah, they talked about that. Did
they talk about that idea specifically?
Day 2, I think it was.
I remember them talking about it in day 2 because that was when Hoyd was on the bone phone. But
right.
I don't remember. I thought they talked about move their capital or something.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah,
they can't move their capital.
But if they submit to a different
right
place, that's what I'm
wondering. But Yeah, but I don't. But the Azish, well, the Azish would never be like, yeah, Alethi, you control all of Azier. Not like, I'm pretty sure that would just cause all sorts of havoc. Like they don't even like freaking Prince Adolin showing up in their soil to help them.
Plus,
fight.
that would be bad because Odium controls Alethkar, which is the capital, so they control the
Right.
country.
So they would technically control it at least for 10 days.
Right.
Well, that's why I said new Alethkar. Or whatever
They'd have to
they're calling
surrender
it.
to like Urath,
Oh yeah,
or they'd have to.
the Shattered Plains. But
Yeah,
if
or
the Shattered
Urathiru.
Plains fall, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
I guess could they potentially like, give it up to Urathiru because Urathiru is not gonna be like falling anytime soon, kind of a thing. But I feel like that probably falls under the same category of you can't just make a new capital kind of a thing.
What if the
Right,
Azish Empire decided that they are going to have a revolution in these 10 days, and Azier no longer exists, but it is the New Republic of Greater Azier. And it's a different country now. Haha! You lose. And our capital is so and such.
Oh yeah.
It would be a completely and totally bureaucratic way of achieving the same end.
But at the same time, that sounds very Azish.
It does. That's why I say, like, that might be the way you might be able to get Azier to do it. But then that still leaves all these other provinces and territories and things that, you know.
Which all would have to vote, and you'd probably have to get everyone. You probably couldn't get everyone to come in and submit their little ballots.
The paperwork would be insurmountable.
Exactly. It would be far worse. Trust me, I hate paperwork. It'd be far worse to do that than just to fight for your life with a sword.
Gosh, there's some line I'm looking for where it's like Adolin had asked for more information about like the position of Prime, and he's just wanting to know like all the pieces here because they're trying to take over the city. And there's some line in the very last chapter of like
yeah, where
of day 4.
he doesn't want to get caught by some legal loophole.
Yeah,
And I'm
Yeah,
totally
and then-
thinking back to his trial in Lasting Integrity.
Yeah, flashback.
Okay.
and she's like, as long as the Emperor's here, like Azimir's. I'm trying to find it.
As long as the Emperor's on his throne or something?
Could we change
Yeah.
capitals? Navani said. That is a very clever idea, Wit told her, which only a very clever person would think of. I asked my draconic friend and got a negative response. Alethi glucose pie here, and they're an absolute mess. Don't show them to the Azish. They'll have nightmares for weeks. We could try to do something similar, but changing the capital or one of a dozen that they're very clever things would put us in violation. So changing the capital would, but I wonder if submitting to a greater capital, would that count?
I don't know.
I mean,
I
you
mean,
just effectively be creating the NATO of Roshar, and
Exactly.
but NATO is not an independent governing body, and it controls no territory.
But this one could.
Well,
Okay.
So it is a question though. Like, what qualifies as someone being conquered? Because what if a third party, just not in realistic likelihood, but if like a third country came in and conquered Azier in the time that they're defending, like,
Well, then
Like
Odium wouldn't get
Herdaz, perhaps.
the only worry
like,
is if Odium gets
and
it.
that's kind of where I'm thinking. Like, you're thinking of going in this is like basically if another country came and conquered Azier, what would they have to do to conquer Azier to say, now we control Azier. Azier is now a subject of, I don't know,
The current ruling body is either captured or kicked out. Would be
right?
my assumption.
And but that ties into what Swiggity was saying is Azier is still Azier
As long as the Emperor is on his throne, Azimir stands. It is one of our strongest mottos. He is to sit and rule, not pretend to be a soldier. I found the line.
Nice. Good
So
timing.
As long as Emperor's still on his throne, so that means like if let's say New Natanen came in and took over Azier, and then Azier became part of New Natanen, then Odium would have to then still go fight New Natanen because it is now a subject. but then they would have to still like follow whatever rule of conquering that would be. But if the question is, does it have to be the physical throne? Because like, could they just like stick Yanagon on the throne? They'd have a bunch of people like pick it up and just like run away.
That's what I'm thinking. Is it's going to come down to them realizing they have to get him specifically, and then it'll be like
No.
a good thing that he ended up getting this little combat training, right?
It is not going to be
Right.
literal.
And they're
I do
just-
not think it's going to be literal. It could be a matter of killing him, but I don't think it's going to be literally sit
You
on
don't
the
think
throne.
they could have like a little like Emperor's New Groove, like little like chase on a map,
No.
just like him standing, like, instead of it's Yzma, it's Yanagon Gox like sitting on the throne and like.
Nope.
I want that
Run
so
away.
bad now.
Yeah.
and then like Odium's chasing him on the.
Nope.
Anyway.
Okay. Well, in Seth's flashback, we learned that Seth's dad also decides to join the soldiers, and ironic that the leader gets Jezreel's blade in the future. Shallan gets to play Among Us for a bit. That was fun. But Formless appears, and
Scares the living
Other
bejesus out
Shallan.
of her.
yeah. And then she tries summoning her plate at one point that just knives stabbing out the ground. Other Shallan, other Shallan. What happens though if you kill somebody in the spiritual realm? What does their corpse just like fall? Does it decompose? What the fudge happens there?
So
It just floats preserved forever.
I man, the spiritual realm is so weird, and we have so little exposure to it that we really don't know anything, like, at all.
Yeah.
Well, we do
okay.
know it goes off of what mind stuff. Because I was going to bring this up because Wit tells Navani when she tries to go through the portal later, he's like, "What would happen if I went to Ashen? Like, the spiritual realm is everywhere." And he's like, "Well, the spiritual realm is basically showing you what your mind can comprehend. So basically, you're putting a finite point, a brain, inside of an infinite space."
Yep.
The spiritual realm. And so the finite brain or the 3D brain can only see things in essentially 3D, right? It's like the whole like 3D versus 4D. Like a 2D object would see a 3D object as a 2D object. 3D object would see a 4D object as a 3D
Yes.
object, right? And so like the spiritual realm has to comply with how our brains would function. And so there's an aspect that the spiritual realm, like I said, is completely like beyond comprehension, but the reason that there's always something, there's like Dalinar's memories, or there's a vision.
My question was more so, what happens to a body that's just left in the spiritual realm for who knows
Right.
how long?
I mean, but you're basically just sticking it in a plane full of that's pure energy. Because
Yeah,
Yes.
so I'm wondering, do we get zombies?
no, you don't get zombies.
And shame on you for trying.
Dang
I
it.
see it more as just the body will either just decompose into investiture and just blend back in, or the amount of energy that's there is just simply going to preserve the body there indefinitely because it's just so saturated.
Okay. We learned that they did bring back dogs, the Ashenites.
Yeah.
They brought back dogs, and the Stormfather likes dogs, but the dogs don't make it.
Oh,
I like that stuff. It was like, in fantasy, some of my favorite stuff is just when you have like details that remind you how old these things are. And like this was like Noah's Ark, he's talking about, oh, the birds come through soon, and like, I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. There was...
And, did you notice how, who was he talking to at the time? Was it Dalinar? Didn't even flinch at the word birds?
Yeah,
He didn't go, what do you mean birds? The chickens, like...
chickens. Yeah.
We didn't get that little...
I'm assuming he's just like, yeah, whatever. What the fudge is a dog? He's just like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Well,
There's also
but we
a line-
did get that line with dogs. He's like, you mean like axe hounds?
Well, yeah, but so he's just like, oh, it's just weird version. He's already made a connection between it in his mind. But there
I
is
wonder how much. Sorry, go ahead.
the Stormfather says there are pieces of the god who made the planet, no longer relevant as humans poorly adapted to this land, began to fear the storm above all else, and so it took on a life, became an adversary, a new demigod for Rashad.
Talking about the Stormfather, right?
Talk about what?
Stormfather's talking about himself.
He's talking about himself, even though capital A adversary.
Well, so I think he's kind of talking about his transition from being the rider of the storms to being the Stormfather, right? Because that's how all the singers originally referred to him, as the rider of the storms, and he was just a spren. Now he's grown into this adversarial role, this embodiment of violent nature that these humans with this greater kind of impression, or this ability to make greater emotions present, and their whatever it is that makes spren like humans more.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. And then Dalinar starts wondering what honor did. What is the thing that seems so, because it cannot stand another who would do what honor did, the power. I think maybe honor broke his own oath, or honor committed. What was the terrible act that Tanavas did?
Right. That is a good question.
That's kind of the question of the book in a way, right?
Yeah. Like what is it that Tanavas did? And that's what I think is like where you see the power, and Stormfather is like, I don't know. I've had this a theory burning in my head since the very beginning of the book that I didn't get to say at the chapters 1 or day 1 and day 2, is the way that Storm Daddy's all like super scared about him finding out more. It just makes me think that maybe the Stormfather, like, right, and now we find like Tanavas did something to the power, but Stormfather is also somehow part of the power. I've kind of had this wondering thing, like, did the Stormfather have was the Stormfather part of killing Tanavast in a sense? Because Odium also is like, when he sees the Stormfather, or when he sees Dalinar like stemming his fit, becoming honor, and when he like says his third ideal, he's like, we killed you. He talks about it in a plural sense.
Yeah, but that could
a big theory.
mean to like anything though.
It could mean anything, but I'm just saying.
I don't think so.
Pluralization, and then we have the Stormfather being like,
I don't know, if you've already read past where you were supposed to, you could be dropping like hints for things.
I think my best guess is that Honor was really, really bound by whatever oath he made, and he probably came to a point where he had to like either keep his oath or let something like bad happen, and like that, in that way they like tricked him into killing himself or something. But it was probably a scenario where there was no good choice, and I think that like if somebody took up the Shard of Honor, like, they would be susceptible to that again. You know, you could, if somebody has honor, then you could trick them again.
No, maybe.
I would love for Dalinar to be like, show me what all you cut out, show me the truth, and Stormfather's just like, I cut out all the bathroom breaks. Oh my gosh, that was it.
Was he Jeff Bezos?
We also see that Navani is connected to something somewhere out there, in the same way that she was connected to Dalinar. I'm wondering if that's either Gavilar or Gavinor.
Well, I mean, we know Gavinor is inside of the spiritual realm, along with Shallan and
Team Murder.
And Team Murder, right? So I think it's probably just Gavinor and Team Murder.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's almost certainly Gavinor.
Yeah, but you guys think we're gonna get like Gavilar and Dalinar are in a vision together, like in the spiritual realm.
Yes, absolutely. I think Navani's gonna be there too. I think we're gonna have
Ooh.
endgame moments where people are able to complete their
Husband
character
1
arcs.
versus Husband 2.
The one endgame moment that I would be happy to see is if we go back to the prologue, like the night he was murdered.
Yes,
That would be thematic.
Mhm. I like how Kaladin isn't perfectly progressive. Like he sees like Syl trying to write, and he's still not comfortable. Like when she tries to teach him, to have somebody that's just perfectly progressive in every aspect would be completely boring.
Well,
And
that's
to have
Adolin.
Kaladin. Yeah, but Adolin's just goofy. And he's not learning to write. Adolin's not learning to write.
Right.
I suppose you're right. He even kind of poo-poos on learning glyphs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's still like, I can be dumb. It's okay.
Kaladin's was like,
just
light
really
eyes and dark eyes are the same. Dalinar's like, men and women can both read and write. Adolin is, both men and women can fight. But none shall the three shall meet.
And men can be stylish.
Yes.
Well, I mean, Kaladin eventually gets to women can fight like men because he eventually gets there. So,
Mhm. Kaladin and Syl have like a brief little dance, and I love that Syl was like, "Oh, can I dance too?" Like it wasn't just Kaladin doing a kata; it was them dancing together.
them dancing together, which
That was beautiful.
I say not that I'm like super in favor of this or super against it. I'm just bringing it
I'm
up because
against it.
it's a common
I'm against it.
theory that is just thrown out there a lot. Is the pairing of Kaladin and Syl, the Syladin,
I'm against it.
coupling.
Nope. Not
Okay,
happening.
what did you guys think about when she was like, I wanted to fight, and you're throwing in the towel? Like that was uncomfortable.
I think it's a great moment of Syl not exactly always being just Kaladin's therapist. Like not just being the little Tinkerbell go along, just whatever you do, I'm here to make you feel better.
Hey,
It shows
listen.
And I feel like we are seeing that more in this book, right?
Which-
Because she's like, I'm wanting to live for me, right? And that means learning how to live outside of you. And you need to learn how to live outside of for other people and live for you. And so what is it you want to do? And that's when he's like, I want to do the dance. So it's kind of like, it is nice to kind of see that, she's becoming more and more of herself and not the Tinkerbell or whatever.
And then they notice that Seth has left Nightblood and an Honor Blade just chilling.
Hey, where'd he go?
That's
and
just
he
like
walks up after Seth comes back and he's like, "You napping on the job?" Like,
Yes, that is so funny.
That was hilarious. He's like, "What? Why are you just hanging out over here? We've got to be prepping." And it's like, dude, you were freaking dancing. Like, why are you lecturing him on wanting to sprawl out and take a nap in the grass? Like, come on.
And then Zeth has that moment. It's like when Kaladin just like chucks the gem heart in Words of Radiance when he has the two honor blades. He's like, "Yeah, what? You got something to say?"
And then Seth falls through the ground into Shadesmar into a 2v1 with no weapons.
Except for Spoon.
Except for Spoon. And annoyingly, he has division now.
Wait, why is that annoying?
Well, at one point he grabs the Edge Dancer Herald, and he can just dissolve their body right then and there.
And he doesn't.
She slips away.
He has the power to just kill with a touch of his finger. And he doesn't try to utilize that at all.
Definitely one of my top favorite fight scenes, like
of the
Cosmere, though. So cool.
Nightblood exists as like a singularity in both realms, and to have Nightblood be seen as what it views itself
So speaking about things that can cause intent about itself, and then it learns also this it can exert. It talks to the honor blades and starts. It's able to Nightblood's able to then push the beads together to form up under Zath, which means Nightblood is A, learning, and B, able to affect his intent on other things around him. So can Nightblood become Odium?
I was going to ask that question earlier when we were talking about...
Not Odium, but hypothetically, it could ascend, I think.
Autonomy.
Ascend.
Ooh, that would be a good one.
So we established external intent.
Yep.
Nightblood can ascend.
Yep.
I didn't know that anyone with Stormlight could just shape the beads. That's new to me.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't seen anyone who wasn't... Like, we haven't seen anybody really try to do it.
Well, he had to have a lot of training, though. I talked about it was from his time when he trained in Shadesmar with the Honor Blades. So it's definitely like a training thing. But you're right. So he got training when he had the surges of, like,
soul casting,
Elf's calling and stuff, like when he could affect it. So when he had those surges, that's how he trained with it. So, but yes, he just needs Stormlight to do it. So supposedly anyone with enough training probably could just have the mental command, the external intent to be like shaping the beads, which makes me think of what's it? It's Big Hero 6. You know, the little
yes, the microbots.
Microbots, the Elf Caller dude. He's just like tunnel, like wait, smashing, like doing whatever. Anyway,
Yep.
Although I want to know what else Nightblood's going to learn from the Honor Blades, because he's like, oh, I learned a surge. Never mind. Oh wait, actually, I can form the beats too. Like, is Nightblood going to start like learning surges from the Honor Blades, or if he doesn't?
I certainly hope not.
I don't think he'd learn a surge, because surges seem to be like, though they are like root laws of physics, we only see the surges the way they are inside of Roshar/Ashen from like Odium and Honor. But it is talked about, Brandon talks about, if basically a Sion bonding to someone going to Roshar would actually get not exactly surges, but essentially a form of surges. They would get powers if a Sion bonded like a Sapient's friend does. But because it's tied to a different
that's cool.
guard, then it has different powers. Well, we now have something made of breath.
Okay.
So you're saying
okay.
Now getting the power. So I think he's gonna get. It won't be surges as like I have Elf calling now, or I have
awakening.
I have, but it has. What's the version? What's the Rosharan version of awakening from Nightblood inside of Roshar? So I just want to bring that up because I don't know what he's gonna get, or if he's gonna get. But all I know is progress has been made. That he's not just like, oh, I'm just a cute little sword that makes funny comments and stabs people, you know, in just such a cute way. But he's now showing development and progress of power and abilities, and he's now forming like this new weird abilities. And it just makes me wonder what's going to happen with Nightblood now. Like, is he basically going to become like a Spren?
This book also, sorry, just like really quick, answered one of my longtime questions. Like, apparently Vasher has just gone to check up on Nightblood. Like, apparently Vasher knows where he is, or at least doesn't really care.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah,
yep.
You got Nightblood.
I mean, when you have a nuclear bomb just walking about, you do kind of want to check in on it every once in a while.
But the point is that he doesn't care to try to get it back. He's just like,
right.
Hey, killer, you good with Nightblood? Yeah? Keep killing, dude.
Checks out.
Then
Keep
then
murdering
Patton
Keith.
reveals.
Sorry, go ahead.
Womp womp.
Or not.
With no video, we can't tell if he's frozen or if he's just mad at us.
Keep cutting him off. Probably just because of the network delay.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
You back? There we go.
Okay.
What was the last thing you said? We were waiting for you.
Yeah, you got cut off.
Hello.
Still there?
Hello.
Hello.
Kind of.
You hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Okay. Let's put it. I only got like two. So Pattern reveals that he has style. And my last theory is that Formless needs to have some sort of talk with Testament. And Formless is sort of the little girl that to kill her. The little girl that did kill her. That they need to talk, not Shalon.
Oh, dude, that's such a cool theory.
Thank you.
Think I actually like that one.
Wait. Let me get this straight. Formless talks to Testament? Or wait, say
I
this
think
piece again.
Formless needs to talk. So I think Formless needs to have a talk with Testament, either for Formless to be healed, for Testament to be healed, and for Shalon to be healed. I think
What if
Formless
talks
is
to
the
Testament
guilt
and they both become murder hobos?
Well, then nothing much has changed.
I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah.
yeah, I know. Progress and all that.
Anything else for these 2 days?
Not for these 2 days, but I do want to bring up one thing real quick. Is anybody else struggling a little bit with the change in voice between the later
Nope.
Stormlight books?
I did for the first few chapters.
I find myself not like I don't dislike the book. Like I'm not having an issue with that. Like I do, but like they have like Way of Kings has a certain feel to it, and it changes a little bit in Words of Radiance, but it's still kind of like there. And then Oathbringer, it
very
changes
much like a completely different book.
Kind of does, and then like it's even more pronounced in Rhythm of War, and now here it's just like, screw it. There's like because we're getting a lot more modern vernacular. We're getting, out of world, idioms and things like that. Like it's just the whole, the idea of the passions are horseshit. Like this whole thing is like completely changed in tone, and I'm struggling with that a little bit.
There was the first day, honestly, I struggled with day one more around the tone of like how blatant he is with like I feel like he's been very like obtuse about his discussion of intimacy with his characters, and it becomes much more blunt. That's kind of what I noticed more of is just like,
and that's part of it.
It's just like the way he talks about it does feel a bit more modern. It only feels that more in day one. I don't feel as bothered day 3, 4. It feels like we kind of like sunk more back into the world, and I'm not as bothered by the change in the use of like words as much. Day 1 was a little jarring to me.
It was.
Just that.
I'm really glad you brought this up. Sorry, Rita, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I think I also had a bit of that, and I think this chapter set was a bit more difficult for me to read than the last one. But I think it has to do with when we start Way of Kings, there's so much to explore. We have no idea where the story is going. Especially in like Words of Radiance, we still have no idea. Oathbringer, we kind of have an idea. Okay, we need to fight an army, but there's still so much to do. But in this, there is like, we have direct things that need to happen. We have to do this thing. We have to do that thing.
Yeah.
We need to scratch off all of these characters' things. Like there is like one path, and we're trying to predict that instead of the
Right.
open world that used to exist.
But that's not really what I'm talking about, right? Like, so what you're talking about is the difference in plotting and plot structure and just the nature of exploring a new world.
I'm also saying like that can fit into the tone. I'm saying that can also fit. Like
it can, but like
the way
Yeah.
Brandon writes has definitely changed over the last 15 years since he wrote.
yeah, and the big gap was
I don't.
really between Way of Kings and Words of Radiance, right? Because he went off and did the Wheel of Time thing, and it was like umpteen years, and so that one's kind of like excusable. But it was still familiar in Words of Radiance as being the same thing that it is in Way of Kings.
Yeah.
And it's most like it was previously. It was most like notable in Words of Radiance, where you have like these moments where Shallan's like, yeah, I guess it was that way, and they're not like they're acting like real world teenagers a little bit. I just
think
the feel of it.
I'm right there with you. So first time going through the preview chapters, I had that impression. Second time going through, like for the podcast, that impression was gone. And I've been trying to figure out why, because my siblings book and they're having the same kind of problems with it. And I'm like, okay, well, why am I liking it now the second time through? And I think part of it is like, it just makes Way of Kings even cooler to me. That that was like a time and place, and I guess I kind of think of it as like an artist coming out with a new album, and you're not really sure if you like the new sound, but like as we get older, our tastes just change, and we want to make different stuff. Brandon has had kids and found a lot of success as a writer, and his voice has just changed. I think for me, I'm just really trying not to let it ruin the book for me. I'm trying to find the things that I love in it.
Oh yeah.
And I know, John, the things that you say, I've seen a lot of people talking about on Facebook and Reddit. A lot of people are talking about this change of like the words, the vernacular that, and like the prose even that he decides to write in is dramatically different. And I definitely feel like, because I read the preview chapters, and so I read day 1, and then I feel like day 3, 4 was different. I kind of was like, I don't feel like it's that big of a difference, but now you're bringing it back. I do feel like a little bit, but, and again, maybe it's, and I'm sure he just has it throughout the rest of the book, but kind of like Swiggity says, like, as I kind of just delve into looking into, like, just like the lore and the things that are like being just like dumped out, like every chapter, it's like freaking like mind bombs after mind bombs, and it's just like blowing my brain. Like I'm spending less time focusing on that and letting myself like just enjoy it. But I can definitely see where you're coming from. Like I said, I felt that a lot in day 1. A lot of people are talking about it. You're not the only one, John. Like I've seen at least 10 to 15 posts in the last week.
It certainly feels different.
Change of tone and voice and feel from Brandon. So I think it's a valid thing to bring up.
And I kind of felt a similar way with Lost Metal too, where like it wasn't as extreme there because like it was, that whole series was kind of moving towards a more modern diction already. But when he started introducing all the Cosmere wide stuff, and he was just like, you know what, everybody's onto this now, like boom, here you go, have it. It changed a lot of things and kind of the feel of it a little bit. And that's a separate but parallel issue for me too, like, because he still maintains that you can read any of the series without having to worry about the other series, and the more crossover we get, the less true that's going to become.
Yeah, I think there's a point where when he said the gloves are off, I don't think that's true anymore, personally. Like, I think all of his old series, that'll be true. Any of the new series, it's not going to be true.
It just can't be.
Read. He can't write Era 3 and 4 and stuff like that as standalones anymore.
I mean, he's literally got characters from Mistborn appearing in this book. Like, they're literally right there. You know, like...
Yeah. Okay.
Which,
But,
don't get me
okay,
wrong,
we're
like,
gonna...
it's exciting, but I just wasn't expecting it yet. It's...
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to stop here. Hopefully we're able to recover the first half of this video. If not, apologies for that. We did have a much longer episode in stored. Hopefully we're able to get it back. All you missed out was us geeking out about Nightblood, really, and a lot of talk about that first interlude.
Yeah.
So what's next? We're stopping at page 762, Dragon. And that is where we are going to stop.
Rude.
At the end of day 6.
Okay,
day 6 and
when a day ends.
Yes, it does.
Just tell me when. No, it just says when a day starts.
No, it literally says end of day 4. I just listened to it this afternoon. But it's easy to miss because I missed it when it did it on day 3. So
I missed it because my brain
overruled
interludes and then start of a day. I missed the end of the day. Okay.
It happens. It's
but
okay.
That is what we are going to be covering next. We will cover the next set of interludes, day 5, interlude, day 6, the end. That's what is to come. Please check us out on our socials. You can find that in the description below. Be sure to hit us up with email as well. We would love to hear your own thoughts and predictions, or comment down below if you'd like that being public. We would be happy to read it either way. But this has been Cosmere Connections, and don't forget, there's always another connection. Bye.
Please email us. We're lonely.